Right now, you're sitting here with a complete personality. You have memories, preferences, fears, habits. You are, in every meaningful sense, you. But here's the thing. You have absolutely no memory of the first 3 to 4 years of your life, the most crucial period of your development, the years when your brain was literally building the foundation of who you are. And you will never remember a single moment of it. Not one. If I asked you what you remember from when you were 2 years old, you'd probably say nothing. And you'd be right. But here's what's weird. During those years you don't remember, your brain was doing more work than it would ever do again. You were learning language, you were learning to walk, you were building the neural architecture of your personality. And then, poof, all of it gets deleted, completely erased from your memory. Why would evolution do that? The phenomenon has a name: infantile amnesia. It's the complete or near complete inability to remember events from early childhood. And it happens to literally every human being. Your entire early life, the most formative, the most important, the most actively developmental period of your existence, is gone, inaccessible, sealed off behind a wall you can't penetrate no matter how hard you try. Here's the thing that really gets at people. You are fundamentally shaped by those years. Your personality, the way you respond to stress, the way you attach to other people, your basic sense of safety or danger in the world. All of that was built during the time you can't remember. It's like the foundation of your entire self was constructed while you were unconscious, and then the blueprints were destroyed. Let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain during those early years. Your brain at birth has roughly 100 billion neurons. But those neurons aren't connected to each other yet. Your brain spends the first few years of life doing the work of connecting those neurons, creating pathways, establishing patterns. This is called synaptogenesis, the literal wiring of your brain. And it's happening at a rate that will never happen again in your life. Between birth and age 3, your brain is making about 1.8 million new neural connections every single second. Every second. You're not just learning things, you're literally building the physical infrastructure that will be your brain for the rest of your life. You're learning language at a rate that would be impossible for an adult. You're learning how to move your body, how to recognize faces, how to interact with the world. Your brain is basically doing the most important work it will ever do. And then, around age 3 or 4, something strange happens. The memories don't just fade. They don't gradually become inaccessible. They disappear completely. This is infantile amnesia, and it's one of the more unsettling facts about human neurology, because nobody actually knows why it happens. The culprit seems to be the hippocampus. The hippocampus is the part of your brain responsible for consolidating memories, taking experiences and turning them into lasting neural patterns. It's the difference between having an experience and remembering that you had an experience. But here's the thing. The hippocampus develops slowly. It's not fully formed at birth. In fact, it doesn't reach adult-like maturity until around age 3 or 4. And around the same time the hippocampus matures, around the time it becomes capable of making real, lasting memories, you lose access to everything that came before. Scientists have a few theories about why this happens. The first theory is called the repression hypothesis, and it comes from Freud. The idea is that early childhood memories are too traumatic or overwhelming to consciously access, so the brain actively represses them. You're not forgetting, you're burying. This theory is mostly discredited now because there's no neurological evidence for active repression. If the brain wanted to keep memories accessible, it would need to maintain the neural pathways. There's no mechanism for actively hiding memories you can still store. The second theory is the encoding failure hypothesis. This one says that young brains simply can't encode memories the way older brains do. The neural machinery isn't there yet. You're having experiences, but your brain doesn't have the capacity to turn them into the kind of lasting memories that can persist. This has some evidence behind it, because the hippocampus really is still developing during those early years. But it doesn't fully explain why memories from, say, age 2 or 3, when the hippocampus is more developed, also get erased. The third theory, and the one gaining the most traction in neuroscience right now, is called the neurotoxicity hypothesis, or the neurogenesis hypothesis. Here's the idea. The hippocampus doesn't just store memories, it's also constantly growing new neurons, a process called neurogenesis. And this growth is especially intense during early childhood. Your brain is literally creating new neurons in your hippocampus at a rate that will never happen again. And here's the kicker. When you create new neurons, those new neurons can actually disrupt the existing neural patterns. In other words, the act of building new memories and new neural architecture is literally overwriting old memories. You're not forgetting because of trauma or lack of capacity. You're forgetting because your brain is literally reconstructing itself. It's like if you were writing important documents on a whiteboard, and then someone came along and erased the board to write something new. And then someone else came along and erased it again. Except the someone else is you. Your own growing brain is erasing your own memories. The timeline of this is worth paying attention to. Most children have no memories before age 3.5. Very few children have memories before age 2. But here's where it gets interesting. Older children and adults sometimes report fragmentary memories from around age 2.5 or 3. A flash of color, a feeling, a scene without context. These aren't full memories, they're fragments. And there's evidence that these fragments are real, that these memories actually existed and were partially preserved before the neurogenesis process overwrote most of them. What this means is that infantile amnesia isn't binary. It's not like a switch that flips and suddenly you can't remember anything. It's a gradual process where new neural growth slowly overwrites old memories. The earlier the memory, the more likely it is to be completely erased. The later the memory, closer to age 3 or 4, the more likely it is that fragments will survive. But here's the existentially unsettling part. You are fundamentally shaped by memories you can't access. Your attachment style, the way you bond with other people, was formed during those lost years. Your basic sense of security or insecurity in the world was established during that time. Your personality traits, your instinctive reactions, your gut responses to fear and comfort, all of that was built during the years you don't remember. And you can never consciously know what those experiences were. You can't point to a specific moment and say, that's when I learned to be anxious, or that's when I learned to trust. Those lessons were learned, but the teaching was erased. You carry the student, but not the class. You carry the outcome, but not the origin. You are, in a very real sense, a stranger to yourself. Modern neuroscience has also revealed something interesting about what we do remember from early childhood. The earliest memories most people have are from around age 3.5. But those memories are often confabulated. They're partly real and partly false. Your brain has filled in gaps, added details that didn't happen, or borrowed elements from stories people told you about your childhood. Your earliest real memories might not be real at all. They might be reconstructions. The philosopher John Locke pointed out centuries ago that if you can't remember something, it's almost as if it never happened, at least from your subjective perspective. And infantile amnesia creates this bizarre situation where the most formative, the most crucial period of your development is, from your perspective, as if it never happened. You can intellectually understand that you were learning language and developing an attachment system and building the foundations of your personality, but you can't experientially access any of it. You can't remember learning to be you. Here's another layer of weirdness. Your parents remember you during that time. They have photographs, they have memories of your milestones and your personality quirks. They watched you learn to talk, watched you take your first steps, watched you develop fears and preferences and habits. They have access to information about your own development that you don't. In a way, other people know your childhood better than you do. And it gets weirder the more you think about it. The fact that you can't remember those years doesn't mean you weren't learning. It doesn't mean your brain wasn't recording information. It doesn't mean those experiences didn't shape who you are. It means you have zero conscious access to the data that built you. It's like the software running your personality includes code you can never read. Some researchers have proposed that infantile amnesia might actually be adaptive. The theory goes like this. If you could remember every moment of early childhood with perfect clarity, you'd be constantly overwhelmed by your own history. You'd have millions of fragmentary memories that your developing brain couldn't make sense of. Maybe forgetting is actually a feature, not a bug. Maybe the neurogenesis that overwrites early memories is doing us a favor by clearing out the noise so we can make room for more sophisticated, more meaningful memories. But even if that's true, it doesn't make the situation any less unsettling. You are built on a foundation you can't see. You are shaped by experiences you can't access. And the architecture of your personality was literally erased from your conscious mind. You have no way of knowing what those early years were like from your own perspective. You only know what you've been told. You only know what you've reconstructed. You only know the stories people told you about yourself, not the self you actually were during those years. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the reason we forget is precisely because those early years are so formative that they become part of the infrastructure of who we are. They become so fundamental that we don't need to consciously remember them. They're not memories anymore. They're just us. They're woven into the fabric of our personality so completely that they don't need to be consciously recalled. You don't remember learning language, but you speak. You don't remember learning to walk, but you walk. You don't remember developing an attachment style, but you attach to people in very specific, predictable ways. So the next time you think about the first few years of your life, remember this. You are walking around with the most important developmental period of your existence completely sealed off from your conscious mind. The person you are now was built by a person you will never remember being. Your foundation was laid in darkness, and you're only here, conscious and aware, because of experiences you can never consciously access. You're a monument to a period you can't recall. And that's just how human development works.